Hello, everybody. Trying to finish this up. Did a little work already this morning. Getting close. Mm, I'm fairly happy with it, but we'll see where it ends up. Okay. Trying to get some of the highlights right. Right enough to really make it pop out in spots. Yeah. I'll have to take a good picture of it and put on when I'm completely done. Trying to think of something to talk about while I'm doing this. This has been a tough year. This kind of relaxes me a little bit. I've had a few challenges, lost a few friends this year. Just been a little difficult. Um, Recently found out I have rheumatoid arthritis, which sometimes my hand cramps up pretty good. On medication for it, but that hasn't really taken too much effect yet. And the other stuff I'm taking for it, I can't take anymore for a while, so I'm kind of in a in between stage where I'm hoping things don't hurt too much. You never know. Hoping not, though. I don't need pain. I've had enough of it this year. There was, if you don't know, rheumatoid arthritis is a autoimmune disease. It causes inflammation in smaller joints, like in the like I have a lot of trouble in this thumb and this finger here. My wrist can swell up quite a bit. Um, it's actually your immune system attacking the lining in your joints. Usually in smaller ones is where it starts. Um, it gets really annoying. It hurts more than you'd think. All of a sudden, it kind of can come on very suddenly. Um, it actually came on last year. I think I had some effects before that, that now that I'm thinking back and trying to remember when I first felt it, but it really took hold last March, year ago in 2024. And I woke up in the middle of the night thinking I had broken my wrist and couldn't remember how I could have broken my wrist while I was in bed. Thought maybe I had grabbed something weird the day before and twisted it or something and just hadn't hurt until then. And but the next day I put some, got up, put some ice on it, took a bunch of ibuprofen. Didn't really help right away, but after a while it started to get better. Um, then later in the day it kind of started going away, and it's hard to describe. It was some of the worst pain I've ever had in my life. I It started going away that evening. I thought, okay, things are good. Next day, my other wrist does it. It was At least I knew then it probably would quit, which it did. Excuse me. And I was, you know, then it just started popping up in different joints here and there. One day it would be like maybe the side of my knee. Next day it would be, you know, my ring finger. I had to wake up a couple times in the middle of the night, take off my ring because it would start swelling up. For a while I didn't wear it, you know, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. You know, if I mention it to people, they're like, oh, you're just getting older. Start having pains and aches. And it's like, no, I feel perfectly fine most of the time. And then just for a day or two, it would be random horrible pains. Then kept getting more and more to where it basically by the end of even late 2024, it was something hurt all the time. It was, yeah, where, you know, it got to be where it was mostly my shoulders and my wrists would be what would hurt. And it would be during the night it would come on. I could fall asleep okay, but after a couple hours I'd wake up, have to let my arms kind of hang to get just loose enough so I could go back and try to get to some sleep, and would for a while, but it just, yeah, it just wouldn't stop. Um, that went on until, yeah, early this year. I mean, it just kept getting more and more to where by, I think I had mentioned something in January to my primary care when I was in there. And then I had to go back in for a little check on something else in February. And so then she had an x-ray done of my shoulder because that's what was keeping me up. Just couldn't sleep. So this is mid-February. Really bad time in my life. Anyways. And she kind of, the x-ray showed a little bit of arthritis in my shoulder, but nothing too bad. But I got some mild painkillers, and for a couple weeks those helped me a lot. Got better, could sleep most nights, and so I thought, okay, that's just what it is. Then like a month later it started getting bad again where I couldn't sleep. So I asked my primary care, was there something else we could do? She got me into an orthopedist quite quickly, which I was very thankful for. I was thinking, okay, I'll just get a cortisone shot or something in my shoulder and I'll be able to sleep again. Then, like some days I'd have where it wasn't so bad, and I'm worried, oh, I'm going to get to the orthopedist and I'm not going to have pains or anything. But I guess maybe luckily, I don't know if that's the way to say it. The day I went there, I had some pain in my shoulder, and my wrist had swollen up that day, and my thumb and index finger were quite puffy. And I mean, I now I can get that pretty well closed in there. It should go all the way, but it's not. But there was days where I couldn't move it more than that. It would just be that would be it. And my thumbs aren't clicking now, but they had been earlier today, and they will sometime today again. But they were then too. So went to the orthopedist that day, and he looked and felt my shoulders and said, yeah, there's some inflammation, but not a lot. And kind of looked at me and said, is there anything else that hurts? And I said, yeah. And I had put on the decree thing that you fill out that I have some joints in my hands and my wrist hurt. So he asks about those and he looks and fills them. He goes back and sits by his computer and just is kind of looking at me. He goes, you know, there's some things that concern me. He said, we're going to do a couple blood tests. We're going to have you, do these. And he says 80% of the time, there's nothing. It's just, I do these as a precaution sometimes with certain symptoms. But he goes, of course, that means 20%. There is a problem. And, it could be something autoimmune. And he said, then I can't really handle that. I'm not that type of doctor, but we'll get you into a rheumatologist. And don't worry, there are much better medications now. And I'm sure you've seen those commercials, people dancing around that they take these and the rheumatoid arthritis and stuff or whatever it is, doesn't affect them anymore. He says, that's all good, He says, I don't know if I dance and do all that, but he said, it's much better than it used to be. So don't worry about that, but we'll have you do the test. And that's 80%. It might not be anything. Well, so I set up another appointment with them for like 6 weeks because he gave me some other stuff to help with inflammation, which worked great. But I did the blood and took the blood draws that day, and now you get all these right away on your chart stuff you can look at online. And so I'm looking at it, and the first one comes back and it's like, yeah, that ain't the greatest news, but I know I have inflammation, so that just might be the inflammation showing up on there. And another one comes back, well, that one was negative, and that's good news. That one came back, not bad. And another one came back kind of sort of not great, but not bad, and it's like, well, that's good. Well, the last one that is the most, at least gives you the most stuff to think about. It's not, they don't use these tests to diagnose, but they're just part of the diagnosis. Took 2 days to come back. And it's supposed to be like, I think it's under 10. Mine was like 340. So that one gave a pretty good idea of that there was an issue. So the next week I got referred to a rheumatologist because which I'm thankful that orthopedist, he recognized something that was outside his expertise, but he could see that there was issues. So then got into the rheumatologist very quickly, which was, I don't know if that was good or bad, if that means I'm pretty bad or, I was under plenty of pain, but the stuff I'd been on, some steroids, was helping a lot. Sorry about that. It was helping a lot, and so went in there and she checked out some of my joints that had been hurting and talked about the tests and said, yep, you have rheumatoid arthritis. And there are certain things they just start everybody on. There's a certain protocol kind of medications you just do. Because if it helps, it's the cheapest, easiest, option. And so we have started on that, but she gave me another emergency because this stuff takes 6 weeks to even start to feel usually before it'll start helping you. I'm a month in now. So she gave me a 3-week thing of the steroids again to take when pain started coming back, if I couldn't sleep. It only took I'd been off a week of this, about a week or so of the steroids the first time before I saw her. And I was saying, I'm starting to feel some pain and stiffness in my hands and joints and stuff. And then it got, so I figured I could wait 2, 3 weeks and that would get me through till the stuff starts taking effect. It wasn't 3 days, and I couldn't sleep a couple nights. It just, my shoulder, my wrist, hand just started, and it's so weird. You go to bed, you fall asleep, you're feeling fine, or mostly fine. You wake up 2 hours later, and it's like you were just having your arm yanked on and ripped on, and it the feeling is so weird, that the pain that comes, that you think, well, I was feeling fine. Why do I have pain now? You know, but that's when the inflammation gets bad, when you are actually at rest. You would think it would be, I mean, while you were doing something strenuous, but actually that it can feel very well. Now, I haven't been exercising. To see the little bit of exercise equipment behind me. I was very good about that for quite a while. But a few months ago, it just got to where it seemed like the nights were worse on the days I worked out. So I just kind of decided, well, until I get medication that's helping me and keeping me, from hurting at night, I'm just going to kind of lay off that, because it was too much. It was more than I wanted to deal with. So I have not been exercising, and I still go for walks. Thank goodness. My feet and ankles, those are common places for rheumatoid arthritis to hit hard, and that has not been the case for me. I've had a little bit of pain in my feet, knock on wood, but it hasn't stuck around. Right now I am a little sore and like the balls of my feet. That's about as much as I've had. I hope that's as much as I have for quite a while, because when it has been a little more than that, it can really stop me. And I like to walk. I go walks with my dog. Any day it's nice out, go for a couple-mile walk, and helps keep me sane. And which ain't saying much, that it's doing. Maybe it isn't doing that great a job. We'll talk about that some other day. But yeah, so now I'm waiting to get to that 6 weeks, and the next week I have a blood test to make sure that the stuff I'm taking isn't ruining my liver, which I guess can happen, but they usually say it doesn't do it too badly. I mean, that it's not a drastic thing right away, so you hope you catch it early, and then you can just modify the amounts and stuff, and maybe have to add another drug or something. Because it's weird. 6 months ago, I didn't take anything hardly. Didn't like even taking Tylenol or, you know, ibuprofen or something for when I was sore. I did start to take quite a bit of a leave. I just got to the point where that was hurting more than I wanted it to, that I could stand. There was a time I decided, well, I now it kind of bothered me, but I had to turn to something because it was more than I wanted to deal with. I was kind of worried about what else I might, turn to if I didn't do that. So, since the first of the year, I've been on some kind of drug for different things. And it's weird that now some I might be able to get off of, but I will, if I want to stay pain free for the most part, I am most likely going to have to do that. I know there are people that will tell you you can, you know, really manage it through diet and stuff, and I've looked at a lot of that, and I'm a fit guy. I watch what I eat. Um, I don't know what I could cut out. I don't eat bread, don't eat much processed sugars and stuff like that. Um, not giving up a few things. I like my tomatoes and peppers. That's one of the things some people say, and then other people say, oh, those don't affect them. Some go to an all carnivore diet, which, hey, I love eating meat, but I love eating vegetables. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go vegan because I like eating meat. I've seen all of them kind of help people, and I've seen a lot of people who've tried it and said they could not tell any difference. And it just, I don't want to chase things. I'll modify a little stuff. There are a few things that I'll probably cut out or at least reduce. Take a few supplements. They say vitamin D is good for a lot of different things. I've always, for the last like 5-6 years, I've taken it during the winter anyways, and it seems to help. And I'm in the sun a lot the rest of the day. I'm quite tan. Which you're not supposed to, one of the drugs I'm taking, you're not supposed to be, they're supposed to be careful in the sun and stuff, and it's like, well, we'll see. I'm giving up a lot of things. I'm not supposed to drink on these. Well, I think I can have like a couple drinks a week, and so that's what I'll stick with. I'll do my best on that. Yeah, it's gonna be some different stuff. But like they say, it's better than the alternative. Well, some days I don't know. It can be, when it is bad, it's bad. The weird thing is how tired I get at times. I know they talk about the fatigue, and that kind of surprised me. When something starts to swell up and get, when I get some inflammation, boy, it is obvious in how I feel. Yeah, it'll feel just like I'm getting a flu, kind of like, not so much, I mean, your body aches, whatever part is hurting, your shoulder or my wrist or whatever, and it'll get inflamed. And then it's like, oh, how do I describe it? It does kind of feel like you get the flu where you're just so tired. Then it comes on all of a sudden. I have at days, I have some like no sugar energy drink stuff. It's basically just a caffeine drink, and I don't do a lot of caffeine. but I'll think, oh, I'm getting tired, so I'll drink one of these, and that doesn't even stop it. I get so wore out feeling and so tired, and it just, and so there's been days where, like, I get up at, you know, 7, feel fine, and at 10 o'clock, this will come across, and just like, it's, I've actually taken naps at 10 in the morning after getting up at 7:30, feeling fine. And it just like, I will sit there and try to listen to some music to get through the fatigue. And it's like, oh man, it just, pretty soon I'm dozing off. I'm like completely out of, yeah, what I thought I would, do that day. It's a weird thing. And it can be just like 2, 3 hours. Take a couple, Tylenol to hopefully mellow out that inflammation, and some days that helps within a couple hours. And then it's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's okay now. Just the weirdest thing. Yeah. I do not recommend getting rheumatoid arthritis. Not a fun thing. And I guess we don't get to choose. They say that like there are, you know, activities and the things you do with your body that can put you at higher risk for. The number one thing was smoking. Everything says, oh, quit smoking if you're a smoker. I think I've smoked a half a cigarette in my entire life. That wasn't tough to quit. It was, no, that's not the reason I got it. Yeah, it's, and then they say another one, being overweight, not being active. And like this morning, I weighed the heaviest I've weighed in quite a while. I was 145. I'm 5'9". I almost have abs. I did. I was trying to do that, and then with all this, it's just you got to work out quite a bit to get your abs good enough to where they show, and then you burn enough calories to get down where, yeah. And I'm just not quite doing that now. It's not what I want to do. Put my effort into right this moment. Heck, for 55 though, that's pretty good. My concentrate here a second. Hard to tell. The color doesn't show up great on. Yeah, I don't need to be on this too much. Oh. Trouble getting the highlights to pop out so that white dogs are hard. I said that in the other one. Painting does soothe a lot of things, though. Don't think I'm not that great at it. I do okay. Not bad as an amateur, I guess. I don't use proper technique. Never been real well, not since like high school have I had an art class. I think my art teacher would be halfway happy to know that I'm doing, at least trying. I think he's still alive too. God, that's been 37 years ago. Hmm. But hey, even if you're just doodling, it helps. I think next time we'll sketch something new. Maybe we'll do a fish. I do a lot of fish. I don't think I have I don't have a fish that's easy to grab here. I could show you. It's getting there. I like it. I actually like it quite a bit. It looks better in the screen than it does. I mean, I can see the shading stuff better from. God, it's a mess behind me. But hey, whose basement isn't? If you have a clean, tidy work area, don't watch me, because I ain't gonna have that. I started to tidy up a little this morning and then decided, no, I'm not gonna do that. Maybe I'll move this so I can have a blank wall behind me. Pop a little here. Good thing you can always go a little dark. It's easier to lighten it up than it is to darken it up. I mean, just go plenty dark and it seems easier. Well, get there. It's just tough to see on there. Yeah. That's all that I'm gonna do for right now. I'll probably finish this without being on camera. Hopefully. If you see it again, it's because I really got upset with some part of it, which could happen. Gotta find out the dog's name too. I was asked to do this, and I think they told me the name, but I can't remember. My neighbor asked for it for a friend of theirs. Very cute dog. Now looking at the picture, I should have the eyes a little bigger, but well, like I said before, remember it's a wonderful world out there. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.